Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to What's New and Coming Up with Lipedema. My name is Siobhan. I'm the research specialist with Lipedema Simplified, and I'm here with Catherine. I always point in the wrong direction, but Catherine is here as well.
Hi, everyone. I am so happy to be here with you. Hi, Jenny. You were here early from the Isle of Wight in the UK. Welcome.
Yeah, and if anybody else is here, go ahead and put in the chat where you're tuning in from, what the weather's like, any questions you have, all that good stuff. Hello, Sandra. Sandra put a heart in the chat. Much appreciated. Hearts back to you. So how is the weather like where you're at, Catherine?
Oh, it's actually nice. I was thinking we were going to get a storm, but we didn't. It's that the sun's out and it's cold. I actually like that combination.
Mm-hmm.
I like the coolness with the sun.
Yeah, pretty similar here. Sun is out, nice and bright. There's actually a decent amount of wind, so I keep hearing this woo, which is
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. Well, that's so Colorado.
Yeah, I actually have only heard the wind like that a couple of times. It reminds me a lot of my childhood because we'd always get these big storms and the wind would sound like that. So it's pretty nice. And we also have Ina from Detroit. Hello. Monica from New York City. Ginger is chiming in from Austin, Texas. Nice and sunny, she says. Sandra from Ohio. Windy and stormy today. Sounds like Ohio. Sandra, expecting a storm. Windy, supposed to be bad tonight. It has been warm. Terry Cook says, I want to tell Catherine how much I appreciate all the work she has done on this illness, and she is from Florida.
That's my thumbs up. Yes, we're getting places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say so. And we have a lot of exciting stuff coming down the pipeline, so let's talk a little bit about that. So, the first thing coming up is a free webinar. It is with you, Catherine, and it's about lipedema reduction surgery, real experiences, and practical guidance. So, why don't you talk about that a little bit? What should people expect?
We I'm a big fan of if you want to know what something is about, ask someone who's been there, done that, and been through the experience. So that's what Tuesday is going to be. We're going to have several women who've actually had lipedema reduction surgery. And I think, everyone's story is different. It's so fascinating that people can go through the same process and yet have different outcomes, different results. Some are ecstatic and others are not so ecstatic. And so, what constitutes that? How do you know it's going to be the right thing for you? If you haven't met Bella yet, this is Bella. She waits until I start talking and then she comes up. And what do they call that when someone does a screen grab? That's
Photobomb. She's
yeah, she's a
photobombing.
yeah. This is Bella, my photo bomb, my photo bomber. It's so funny. I can't. I mean, it's almost uncanny. It's like somebody set her up and gave her choreography.
She just wants to say hello to everybody.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, good. Oh, there she is. Uh, oh my God, Terry. She says you've made such a difference in my life. I can't even begin to tell you how much. I just finished my first surgery 3 weeks ago. Oh, Terry, listen. Do me a favor. Um, give me a call. Where are you? You're on Facebook. Um, well, wait. I'm putting my number in. Doesn't matter. My number is everywhere.
Yeah, you give it out a decent amount, so I don't think it's private
Yeah.
or secret.
Okay. Where it is? 617. give me a call because I'm going to invite you to be one of the speakers on Tuesday. Okay. Yes, you can do arms first. Monica says, can you do arms first? Yes, you can.
Yeah, I've known a couple people who've done that. And
So, Terry, I just want to make sure you got my number. So, after this, give me 5 minutes and then call me and we'll go over the details and I'll get you set up because I'd love for you, especially since you just had your surgery. And I'll get the details when you call me.
yeah, and she said she would love to. And she already signed up for the webinar, so sounds like a good fit.
It's a good
Um,
fit. Yeah.
yeah, and we.
Also, I just got a text. Um, I ordered medication and they're delivering it along with other stuff from Costco. Costco is the pharmacy I use.
They're usually pretty good.
Yeah, they are. They're actually okay. Get ready to meet your shopper. They'll be there 4:41. It's now 4:37. Okay, so I have to go get it. So, um, Siobhan's going to tell you all about our upcoming event.
Yeah, I do need to grab the link actually because
Oh,
I forgot to grab it.
okay. I will
But
go get my medication and groceries.
okay, yeah, and people have noticed we've been talking about surgery a lot, and the reason for that is the I feel like the diagnoses of lipedema has been increasing, and it's definitely something that comes up quite a bit. Um, so it's a big conversation in the space, and one of the things people often have trouble figuring out is this going to be something that they want to do that's going to fit them? What kind of expectations are realistic from it? What does the lead up look like? How should you prepare? What kind of space should you be in? And then afterwards, what are realistic expectations in terms of the rest of your life? So, what kind of experiences have people had long term? Things like that. So, that is kind of what we're talking about to help people come into this and figure out what their short and long term plan is going to be like. But under this perspective of centering conservative care, making sure we're taking care of the other things that are going on, um, all sorts of different stuff. So it's a topic that is big in the community, and we want to be able to serve everybody that we can. So that is what we're going to be talking about in 6 short weeks at the Lipedema Simplified event. It's going to be all about surgery, but not just about the surgery itself, but like what I just talked about. What are the realistic expectations? What kind of things should you take care of before heading in? How should you prepare for it? And how do you take care of yourself afterwards? So, this is a holistic approach to surgery, and we'll be inviting on some people from a lipedema clinic in Berlin. They also take a pretty well rounded approach to surgery. They encourage people to look into and implement conservative care ahead of time and get themselves in the best shape possible before heading into surgery. So it will be a lot of information in case people need it. And we do have some questions here. Let's see. Martha said, heading into my second surgery in 2 weeks. Thank you for talking to me today, Catherine. I will share that thank you as soon as she's back. And Sandra said, how does liposuction not damage existing lymph nodes? I would think it would make your condition worse. So, what they do with lipedema reduction surgery specifically, and this is why we encourage people to go to, if they decide to get surgery, to seek out somebody who's familiar with lipedema and is is used to working with the condition is they use lymph sparing liposuction specifically. There are certain techniques that they use to make sure the existing structure is preserved. And then there are other things as well. So there are people who are not a good fit for lipedema reduction surgery. And the reason for that is that the risk of complications is higher. So in some cases, it could be they're not recommended right now. So potentially they have a co occurring condition that the clinic would like them to take care of first, like obesity, for example. So that's one of the tricky parts with lipedema is you might have a high BMI, but you might not have co-occurring obesity because of the lipedema itself. So that's one of the things that you may end up talking about when seeking out surgery is are you a good candidate or not? And I think Catherine could probably talk about this in a bit more specifics in terms of the importance of talking to surgeons, and if they say, you're not a good candidate, kind of taking that to heart and trying to understand how they're determining that and if it's something you can change. Because in some cases, it can be. Um, but yeah, and that is also why we talk a lot about taking care of nutrition, taking care of overall health, taking care of metabolic health, the nutrition that you're eating when going into surgery, in all kind of serving this purpose of getting yourself in the best condition possible to take that on, because any surgery is going to be a traumatic event and your body's going to have to deal with the aftermath. So getting yourself in the best shape possible is something we think is very important, as well as the aftercare. So, Catherine, here is a question for you.
Yeah.
So in terms of who is a good candidate, who is not a good candidate, one of the factors for that is increased risk of complication like lymphedema or lymphatic damage. Do you happen to know some of the factors they consider for that?
Um, they say that weight is not an issue. Weight is an issue. Let me say that while BMI is not a good indicator, you can tell um, in your own body.
So would that be looking for like co-occurring obesity, like with a waist to height ratio, for example?
God bless you, Siobhan. I love you so much. Isn't she amazing? She is the most amazing thinker. She goes right to the core. So, what she said.
Okay, so waist to height ratio.
So,
So, yeah, and that's what I've heard from some clinics recently is that while weight itself may not be an issue, co occurring obesity can increase the risk of complication like it can with many, many other surgeries. So, with lipedema, using BMI may not be the most accurate indicator, but waist to height ratio can be a much better indicator. And it's so let's this is what I was just saying, if I can finish the sentence, is that there are some things which might make you not a good candidate right now, but it doesn't mean you won't be a good candidate forever. So, addressing obesity, seeing if you can resolve that, and we do have people in the community who have through generally lifestyle interventions, sometimes medication, sometimes both, and resolving that, making sure you're in a good spot to get that surgery and decreasing risk of complication as much as possible.
let me say, which I say, and I will say probably in more detail at the webinar on Tuesday, is I had surgery against advice. In other words, I had been advised that I was not a good candidate for the surgery. And I had two of the docs say to me that they wouldn't do the surgery because they didn't want to harm me. And being the stubborn person I am, And then, knowing as many doctors as I do across the world, I found someone who gave me the surgery. Despite, the precautions, it was not a good thing. I almost died. Took me, I mean, I was in bed, barely able to move for months. So, my story, that's one of the reasons why it's taken so long for us to do a conference on surgery, because I sort of went, nah, not doing that.
Yeah.
So, what's become very clear is that you can't like throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of thing.
Hmm. And I think like the other aspect of it is we don't want people to have the same experience that you had, which was not having access to the information of
Yeah.
when someone's saying you're not a good candidate is actually the best advice that they can give you.
Yeah.
So understanding like, okay, why are they giving that recommendation? So Terry said, not all surgeons think alike. If one says no, do your research and find another opinion from a reputable doctor. But the flip side of that is you could have a reputable doctor saying, you're not a good candidate. I'm very concerned about risk of complications in your case. And you may go to another doctor who, waves you past, and that might not actually be the best option. So, really understanding where this advice is coming from and even asking them, like, what factors would make me a good candidate? If it's about obesity, that's potentially something that you could work on and circle back around to later. But there may be other things where it's just not safe, period. Um,
I
so,
So another surgery that many of us in the lipedema community end up needing has to do with osteoarthritis.
mm,
So there's a number. I was talking to someone today who's having lipedema reduction surgery, and she's got bone on bone in both of her knees. Mine was in my hip. So I had bone on bone in my right hip, and I was in agonizing pain. That's how I met. If anybody has met Brian, that's how I hooked up with Brian, because I needed something. Because I, first of all, it took me forever to find a surgeon. I was on the verge of giving up, and I couldn't find a surgeon who would do my hip replacement because of the weight. And at that point, I was much thinner. So, what ended up happening is I found a surgeon who could do what's called a lateral approach, which is an unusual surgery entree point in the hip. But she did it. But I had to lose a lot of weight. And it wasn't like I wasn't trying, I was doing everything right. We hear this again and again and again. I was doing everything right, and I wasn't losing weight. So I I worked with Leslin, and we found a balance. It took me almost a year. And during that time, I learned a lot about the whole surgical prep process and how important it is. So, what Siobhan said, I think it's important for people to know. We have a woman in the community. Uh, she's worked with us, and she's now, because of what happened, she scheduled surgery in Europe. Wonderful clinic. We're highlighting the clinic. They're so good.
mm-hmm,
Um, she had her ticket. She had, done everything she needed. She was ready to leave. The week before she left, they said they couldn't do the surgery, that they didn't think she was a candidate, because when they looked at doing anesthesia, it could be problematic because of her weight. So she ended up meeting with them, and literally, as she was, about to leave a week later, she had to rearrange everything. And so she went on the GLP-1s, and the last I heard, she's doing really well, and she's dropped 20
mm-hmm.
pounds. Um, so, yeah, So
Yeah,
those
and
are the kinds
I
of things we talk about.
yeah, and I had talked to her as well, and what I said is she did exactly the right thing. Is she asked them, what would make me a good candidate? What do I need to change? What do I need to work on? And then she figured out a plan that was going to work for her. And that is, I think, the safest approach is really seriously taking that into consideration, especially with this clinic. Like, I consider them one of the best clinics that I'm aware of. I've been there personally, I've talked to them. I really appreciate the approach that they take for people who do find that surgery is the option that they want to pursue and that it's a good fit for them. So, yeah.
Yeah, and Light for Wellness with Martha is the woman that she was referring to. She has bone on bone in both knees. So she's in the process of having her lipedema reduction surgery. Hi, Martha. And then she's going to look at the knee surgery. But, you know, you got to be sure that you, number one, have the support you need, and number two, are doing what you can do to prepare for whatever surgery you're having.
Mm-hmm.
The reduction surgery is only one because there are other options for those of us who are dealing with other comorbidities to lipedema. The osteoarthritis is a pretty common comorbidity. Oh, Terry said she got her knee replacements first. Well, that's great. Um, I'll talk to you, Terry, because we can talk about your rationale. Some
Mm-hmm.
people do it one way and some people do it the other way.
Yeah, I would hedge a bet. It probably depends on the person.
Yes, I would hedge that same bet, Siobhan. uh, okay. All right. I
Yeah,
think that's all the news that's fit to print this week.
I was just about to say the same thing. So, if you all haven't signed up for the free webinar coming up on Tuesday, go ahead and do that. If you haven't signed up for the event and surgery is something you're looking into, I would recommend taking a look at it because we'll have a lot of information going on there, best practices, answering as many questions as we possibly can, and hopefully setting people up so that they can confidently make a decision that's going to be right for them in the long term. And that is also going to depend on the person.
Okay, I put the link in the chat in Facebook and in YouTube for the free webinar. I'm going to be a little stronger than even what Siobhan said. If you are considering surgery, do not, under any circumstances, miss the 3 day session. The 3 day session has um, the staff from the Berlin clinic. It's the only hospital in the world that's solely dedicated to lipedema and lipedema surgeries. That's all that they do.
Mm-hmm.
And as Siobhan said, she was there. She met everyone. She saw the clinic, the hospital. The whole thing is remarkable. And so they're going to be highlighted on the first day of the conference, which is April 25th. And then on the 26th and 27th, we have surgeons from the US. We have different folks who help in either the preparation, the insurance, the what do you do if you try and get insurance to cover it and you end up being denied? How do you do appeals? There's just so much we go through. And so you just don't want to miss it. And then a number of women who've already had the surgeries. So, and Siobhan in less than.
Yeah, the highest quality evidence that we could gather up, we have gathered up and put it all in one place for anybody who needs it.
Yeah.
So I think this will be a very helpful resource for people, and I'm really excited to see it come to life. And because each event has, I think, been better than we could possibly anticipate, and I have no reason to doubt it's going to be the same for this one.
Yeah, I think so too. And the thing is, and if we have something called premium access so that you can get the replays. So you get a place where all of that information is like your own little library that you can do at your own convenience. And if surgery is something you're going to do, you've got to get this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's as and Jenny said, I have not heard of Lisa Marin Klosterman. She sounds Dutch.
Mm.
I watched a webinar on Thursday from Lipedema. Lipedema UK is wonderful. I love them so
Yeah,
much.
agreed.
You say it was very good and informative. What did she do the webinar on? Jenny, can you tell us? And is it available? Can you put a link in?
Yeah, because I haven't seen it either, but I'm definitely interested, especially if it's coming from Lipedema UK. I like the stuff that they do.
Yeah, they do good stuff. They've been around for. I mean, they were my first. I flew to England for the weekend to do a weekend that they were sponsoring.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I, really got into it. Oh, I don't see anything from Jenny.
Well, feel free to put it in the comments after, and we'll follow up, or you can email it to us, and we'll take a look at it, and we can talk about it next week.
Yeah, that's a good, Siobhan. Yay.
I get better at it as I keep going. So, I think that is all for this week. And yeah, like I said, we'll talk again next week, or for those of you who will be coming to the webinar, we will see you on Tuesday.
Sounds great. Bye. Have a good weekend. I'll see you Tuesday.
Bye bye.